Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Bernard Frischer. Bernard Frischer is a digital archaeologist who writes about virtual heritage, classics, and the survival of the classic world. Through his labs and with the help of many technical and scholarly collaborators, Frischer has overseen many 3D modeling projects. In 2016, Frischer founded Flyover Zone in order to take virtual heritage from the university laboratory to a larger international public.
Well, good afternoon, Bernie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. This is exciting. You know, Bernie, when we talked prior to the podcast, the stuff that you're doing in the virtual space, and, you know, we can talk about that here in a minute about the COVID and pandemic and everything else. But, you know, you're kind of well ahead of the game with some of the virtual tours you're doing. So this is pretty exciting, and I want to jump into this so that we can share your story and what you're doing with our audience. So Bernie, I'm sorry, you've got quite the career in academia as a professor. You're a digital archaeologist and founder of Flyover Zone. Could you share with our audience the secret of your career growth and what inspires you?
Well, I think that if there's any single secret behind my evolution over a 40-year career, it's that I was fortunate enough to be a professor in this country, in the United States. Because in higher education in this country, one of our highest values is academic freedom. And that's been defined as the right of a professor to teach and research whatever topics interest him and to express his ideas freely without fear of censorship or censure. And we're very blessed in this country to respect the value of academic freedom. And as you can tell, I've made heavy use of it as I evolved from being a scholar of, if you can believe it, ancient Greek and Latin language and literature to archaeology, digital archaeology, and eventually to the business of virtual tourism. And regarding that last stage of my evolution to the business of virtual tourism, another secret, if you want to call it that, is the way American universities over the past 30 years have encouraged their faculty to be entrepreneurial, to get their ideas out of the lab and into people's lives. And that's something I've taken advantage of and for which I'm most grateful.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And we're going to talk a little bit more of how you kind of it's a good segue into what you're doing and what you have been doing even pre-COVID. So let's talk about the pandemic. You know, now that it's starting to lift and hopefully we'll be out of lockdown soon, what are your plans for this year and beyond to promote virtual tours?
Well, the silver lining in the COVID pandemic for us is that it's made the new industry of virtual tourism much better known by the general public than ever before. We did a study last year before COVID about how well people understood what is meant by the term virtual tourism, and we were very disappointed to learn that the term had very little resonance. Hardly anyone knew what a virtual tour was. Then COVID struck and suddenly virtual tours started to be offered to all sorts of places, even Graceland, Elvis Presley's house at Graceland. And some of the tours, I think of the one to Bethlehem last Christmas, attracted as many as 2,000 people. And we think that although COVID seeded the market for virtual tourism, the disappearance of COVID won't stop the growth of the industry any more than it'll stop people from using tools like teleconferencing, telecommuting, and telemedicine. But once COVID has been put behind us, we're looking forward to resuming our travel to schools and to trade shows, demonstrating our work and trying to find new partners, especially in the area of marketing, where we've been pretty weak and where we really could use the help of some partners.
Absolutely. And I think that's exciting that, you know, Bernie, you were already leveraging that technology prior to the pandemic. And so kind of a follow-up question to the pandemic, you know, people say, well, gosh, is the virtual tour going to replace the real tour? Maybe you could talk about what's that going to impact for real travel once the lockdowns are lifted?
Well, that's a good question. And we're often asked that, are you trying to put an end to real world tourism? And our answer is absolutely not. What we think is that what we're doing is actually going to increase tourism to great cultural heritage sites around the world, like, say, Baalbek. We just released a virtual tour that's free, actually, to Baalbek in Lebanon. We're working on the Acropolis in Athens, Tenochtitlan in Mexico, various sites in Egypt, in the Valley of the Kings and the Pyramids of Giza. A lot of these sites people may have heard of, they may be dimly aware of them. Others they may never have even heard of. By being able to take a virtual tour before you leave, you can see if you want to leave, you can see if you even want to go. And if you do want to go, you can be better prepared to, benefit, to get the most from your trip, because you already will have sort of been there and experienced the place before you even leave home. So we work hand in glove with tourist agencies of governments and ministries of culture. They'd never agree to work with us if they thought that we were going to cut into their business. To the contrary, they realize that sort of like downloading a sample chapter of a book on Amazon, that increases sales of books. That doesn't decrease them because it raises people's awareness.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that piece of it. And it definitely gives it some clarification around the future of actual physical travel to these destinations. So, Bernie, let's talk about technology. We're a technology platform. And so you're obviously leveraging some new emerging tech within your tech stack, right? With what you're doing. Anything specific you might be able to share with us today?
Sure, Brian. Well, I think we were early adopters of virtual reality. I've been working on the university side in virtual reality since the 1990s. If we look ahead, though, in the next 18 months or so, I think the really big new technology, at least new for our company, is 5G. Fifth generation cellular networking means that we can stream our virtual tours to customers' smartphones and not force them to download our content and hog a lot of their limited storage space. And I think, and we think that this will make it easier for our customers to enjoy more of our virtual tours and to get them faster and cheaper and all those good things.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. The fact or the advent of 5G is actually making a lot better use cases and more use cases for all types of technology platforms out there. So thank you. And Bernard, let's talk about your career real quick. Maybe something you can share from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career in academia or technology.
Well, the best advice that I can give anyone looking to start a career in academia or technology is the same thing that Steve Jobs used to say when asked the same question. Put your seatbelt on, everyone. Study the humanities. The study of art history will hone your aesthetic sensibility. The study of foreign languages and literatures will perfect your ability to express yourself in English. The study of philosophy will help you to conceptualize whatever it is that you end up doing. My academic degrees were all in the humanities, and I was surprised to learn in Walter Isaacson's great biography of Stephen Jobs that he too had a humanities background in college as a student. So if any of your young listeners hear someone telling you not to waste your time studying the humanities, don't believe them for a second.
Great. No, that's some great advice. And I think it's important that we all have a broad spectrum of learning so we can better appreciate things. And I think you learn a lot more that way as well. So I appreciate the share. And Bernie, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
Bye for now.